Let me get a shape, get a cube, and I'm going to put lines mode on. Okay, so now our new thing last week, or our new way of working in Cinema 4D was to start using modeling tools. And as you saw last week, there's a lot of different tools. There's a lot of different ways you can work. On the blackboard, you had some resources that went through different kind of tools. If this was a completely modeling focused class, we would definitely go through and explore each of those tools individually and
Sorry
try
to
them out.
interrupt.
Yes,
Wait, is this gonna be recorded or
yes,
no?
I'm
Oh,
recording it right now, and I think John's recording it too. So um, we got backups. So yes, to recording. Let me double check now that you asked, just to make sure. Yes. Okay, I'm recording. Okay, so now that we're gonna get into animation relatively soon. Actually, let's see. Let's pull up. I think next week. I don't have the thing here. Okay, today we're gonna get into rendering and whatnot. I think I don't want to make a promise. I gotta go check my I'll check my syllabus, my outline before we head out for the week. But I think we're gonna get into animation next week. I'm not sure. So that's great because we can start focusing on taking these modeling tools that we've been working on and start adding animation to it. So that's exciting. But obviously there's so much you can do with modeling. So we'll sneak it in where we can, where it makes sense to talk about modeling and look at modeling tools more. But for sure, you want to at least have a comfortable, familiar feeling with the extrude, the inner extrude. It's nice to be comfortable to know how to use the loop cut in case you do need to add an extra edge or something like that. And then might be worthwhile to show you guys the bridge. The bridge is a great way to make to fill a gap. So maybe I'll show you that as well, and then we can get into new material. As you see here on the blackboard for the week 6, I have it starts with a lighting lecture, and then I have different options for how to make backgrounds that look really nice and render nice, but you don't have to do a lot of or spend a lot of time to get them set up. So I have some options for you guys to do backgrounds, because if you don't do backgrounds, then your reflections don't look right and your textures don't look right. So and your lighting is funny. So it's about time in this class that we start like refining our rendering, so that we're getting our models to move along. So now we want our rendering to catch up, and having stuff rendered in that black background is not really a service to the work you're doing. So we have some lighting that we're going to go over. And whatever we don't cover in class, there's video lectures for everything here. So even if we cover something in class, there's a video lecture here to go over it in more detail. I introduced a camera this week so that you could sort of save your angles as you're rendering, because that can be annoying. And then I've got some resources to continue talking about materials if that's something that you're interested in. So a big shift of gears this week, but I think it's something that people have been having questions about. So we'll look at both of those topics today, and we'll see how far we get. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Cinema, and I'm gonna make it editable. Okay, so as a reminder, if you want to make your shape editable, you're going to either use the Make Editable button over here, or you can highlight your object and you can use the Object tab, Make Editable over here. The more comfortable you get, the more used to shortcuts, the better. Okay, so I have right now the C key is the Make Editable button. Okay, so I'm going to hit C. Okay, and then that will make my shape editable. So you got to make sure it's selected, all right, or else nothing will happen. I hit C, and now it's editable. Okay, so now that it's editable, I can switch now to any of these modes here: point mode, edge mode, or polygon mode. And that's just whatever way you prefer to work. You'll probably be switching between them as you're going to see which one makes more sense. If there's a particular tool you might want to use, you might want to switch to that one. to assist with that tool. So you probably won't find yourself staying in just one of these modes as you're working. Polygonal mode is a good one to be working in if you're not quite sure what you want to do, because that way at least you can select the whole face and you know what you're looking at. Points is obviously more specific, so you'll probably won't be using points unless you're using splines or you're like really refining your details. Edge mode is super helpful because you get to be able to select sort of the whole edge there or a piece of it, and that can be useful depending on what tool you're using. A lot of tools work really well with the edge tool, so you'll probably find yourself switching. So you don't get uncomfortable with the idea that you're going to be stuck in one of these. You can go back to model mode if you want to have the whole object, or you could switch between those particular options for how you want to select. Okay. So now last week we mentioned all of the ways that you could select your material, your geometry that you want to work with. So again, I want to point you guys up to the select menu, which is also the U menu. So if you hit U, okay, you will get those keystrokes for the selection tools. I showed you a couple last week. The loop selection is one of the very, very most useful ones because it will select a ring, and that's something that you're usually trying to do yourself. And if you have to do it manually, it can be quite the endeavor. So up here you can see there's loop selection is the first one. Ring selection, you got to be in edge mode there for that one. And then you have select all, deselect all. Those are definitely useful. We'll talk about a set selection. Hopefully, I wanted to show you set selection because it's something that you can use on your toy car. Set selection is a way for you to select some polygons, and then you can save them, and that you basically save that selection. So anytime you want to go back to that selection, you can just click on it again. So if you want to keep modeling it, it's already selected. You don't have to select it a second time. If you want to texture it different than the rest of the object, that's a way you could use that as well. So if you're thinking about various objects and you want to pick different polygons on the object to be different colors, this would be a way to do that. Okay, so I'm going to take this cube and I'm sort of gonna do, I think, like where John was going. I'm gonna sort of like pull out the rough shape of a low poly car, and you guys can sort of see me do it as well. So you'll see the two of us sort of do the same thing, which is good because the more times you see it and see it from other people, it definitely helps to gel the concepts. So I'm going to select this face in polygon mode, and if I want to extrude it, you can hit the D key, okay, and that would be extrude. If you don't remember your shortcuts, then you could always right click and you get this full menu here of all the tools. Or I mean, if you're not feeling like you want to use the other menu, you can hit M, and this is the one I showed you last week. You hit M, and then all of your tools are listed there. It's more condensed. So if you're looking something for like an index in alphabetical order, well, not really, actually. Some of it's in alphabetical, some of it's not. That might be more useful. So you hit M and you get that, or you right click and you get this menu. Okay, and there's extrude with shortcuts there, and inner extrude. And then we talked about loop cut. So I'm gonna hit D. All right, and again with the extrude, the tricky thing is that when you pull up the tool, and you can see it here with my cursor, I've got the extrude tool, but I have to make sure that I don't get tricked into grabbing the move axis, okay, because that one is very easy to grab that, and then you're moving it, you're not extruding it. And you know that you're moving it because you're just extending the polygons that already exist, as opposed to if you're extruding it, which is me basically selecting this, and then I'm going to move my mouse button left or right from a different area of the screen, and now I can see that I am adding new polygons as I go. Okay, so now you can see that I'm pulling this out. So maybe if I'm gonna like make that the body of the car, and this would be like the front, the hood and whatnot. Okay, I can pull that out. Okay, and then maybe I want to add myself another level up here, so I can select that. Okay, and if I want to extrude both polygons at the same time, I select both, and then I can pull up. Okay, so you can decide however you want to do, however you want to go. Okay, if you just want to extrude one part, which I think makes the most sense for your toy car, is that if you have your cube set up and then you start pulling from there. Okay, so that you can sort of give yourself multiple levels. Okay, it's new polygons to work with, and you can decide how boxy you want it to be, or if you want angles or whatnot. I'll sort of show you how you can sort of pull a lot of those things into place. So I extruded, so basically from my first cube, I'll go back, okay? From my first cube, I'm gonna pull new polygons out from the front face here. Actually, I wanna make sure that let me get rid of my cube. I wanna make sure I'm facing the right direction. Okay, there we go. Okay, and I'm gonna make it editable. Grab that front polygon face, and I'm just gonna extrude it a little bit this way. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the top of the original cube, and I'm going to extrude that up as well. Okay, now if you extrude and you just want to change the size of something, you could definitely switch back to the move tool to do that, and you don't have to add new polygons. You want to make sure that if you're adding new polygons, you're doing it on purpose. Okay, so that way you're not actually doing it and adding new polygons all over the place, because you do want to be strategic about it. It will make things harder for you if you put them in the wrong place, or if you make a lot that are closely grouped together, because then it'll be hard for you to select things or hard for you to move things. So if I think, okay, I made this a little too short, I can just grab the polygon face, and I can pull it out. Okay, if I think that the back here is a little too cube-like and stubby, I can select those two and pull them out there. Okay, so now I can start to sort of rough out the general shape of it. You know, maybe I think this is a little bit too tall. So again, I can select these faces here and then pull them up. Okay, and so now I've got like sort of the rough, very like basic shape of the car. Okay, so now maybe what I want to do is I want to like angle the hood. Okay. So what I can do is this is a place where you can go to like edge mode, okay, and you can say, okay, I want to shift that, I want to move it over. So I would suggest if you're gonna like change the angle of something, you probably want to make sure that you're looking at more than one view, so that way you can keep it relatively. Make sure you're not sort of doing something like this where you pull it and it's like going off in different directions, and it might look okay here, but then when you turn it, you'll be like, oh no, that's not what you intended to do. So 4-view is definitely going to be your friend when you're working on these kind of things. So I'm just going to push this a little bit this way. Okay, just get myself a little bit of an angle here. So I'm really paying attention to my right view, but I'm also keeping track of what it looks like in these other views to make sure that it's staying where I want it to and whatnot. So now my axis is a little bit tilted, so you can see that if you need to, you might have to switch it. Okay.
What was that joke movie? Like a string for these horrors, something like that.
Wait, is that a question? No? Okay. So you can see here with the edge that the axis is tilted. Okay. So now if the axis is tilted, it's definitely going to take you a little bit more sort of manually moving this around to get where you want to go. So if that's the case, if you see that the axis is not straight up and down, you can always go over to this button over here, coordinate system, and you could switch between the axis being related to the world space or the axis being connected to the object. So not going to really matter to you right now which one you're on. You just might have to turn it on. Okay. Normally I think it's on object, okay, but now it's on world. So now it's straight up and down, and I can pull it more easily if that's what's giving me trouble. It's much easier to just pull that across in one direction than it is to try and manipulate the axis when it's in multiple directions at once, like it would be by default. So if you need to, you could toggle this on and off, but sort of keep track of that you did that, because later on you might be confused why your axes are all going in one direction, and it'll be because you switched your coordinate system. I'm going to just angle this a little bit for the windshield, and then maybe I'll angle the hood here a little bit as well. You know, maybe just to give it a little bit of a different shape than the top. Okay, so now what might be useful is when you're working on this is if you want to do windows and you want them to be inset a little bit, that would be a good use of the inner extrude. So you could then do an inner extrude to make the sort of the rim there, the edge of the window, and then you could do an extrude to push the window in. So that way you do get that little bit of a different level there as we're switching from the car body to the windows themselves. So I would say that would be a good thing to try, is an inner extrude on those. But anything that you want to sort of keep pulling out here, you know, sort of go through and look at it as a whole. Check what you're doing. You know, and as you're working, you can go back and forth, and you could switch between your tools. You don't have to finish one thing. You can sort of rough things out and then go back and tweak it. But for now, I think I've extruded a couple of things that I like the way it looks, so I'm going to go and check out using an inner extrude to see if I can get some inset windows.